Call a special meeting for the corporation of the town of Cobalt on March 7th, 2024 to order at 7 p.m. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. None. 3, adoption of meeting agenda. Draft motion. Be it resolved that council approve the agenda of the special meeting dated March 7th, 2024 as presented. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Starchuk and Councillor Anderson. All in favor? Carried. 4, business. 4.1, the Integrity Commissioner to address council.
Am I going to your worship?
Yep. This is Peggy Lovelace, our Integrity Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone. I imagine you are quite surprised that I'm here and wondering why does the Integrity Commissioner want to address council? Well, I have been watching your meetings. We have come here and done some training. I asked you very kindly to not get into trouble with the Integrity Commissioner so that we did not have to do inquiries, and that has not been the case. Your worship, quite honestly, I'm going to be very frank. I'm really tired of the gotcha politics that's been going on at the table. Staff are being blindsided by additions to the agenda at meetings, and I'm coming here tonight to request council suspend whatever section of your procedure bylaw that allows that. I think it's absolutely inappropriate that you bring matters to the table that staff have not had time to address and then expect a decision to be made that evening. It's inappropriate. It makes your staff look unprofessional. It makes council look unprofessional. So that's my first request.
Well, I should probably ask a question before we get too far into this. Can I go?
It's kind of disrespectful. We have somebody addressing
It's a
council.
tiny bit disrespectful for us to be disciplined and in trouble and not in a closed session.
Okay, point of order. Point of order.
That's fine. We don't discipline
Point
staff. Well, there's one more. I just sit here, can't talk the rest of the day.
Not while we have somebody speaking. You'll have your opportunity.
To that, though.
Okay.
So if I might, your worship, address that?
Yes, please.
We cannot discuss council behavior in closed session. Unless there was an issue that was medical in nature, that was something that you needed to disclose in closed. Otherwise, councillor behavior is something that's discussed in open. That's why the Integrity Commissioner brings a public report to the table so that everyone can hear the evidence and the recommendations of the Integrity.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
So my recommendation right now is that nothing be added to an agenda prior to adding open meeting unless there's an absolute urgent reason for it to be added. It's not fair to staff, and I don't think any one of you would like it either, to all of a sudden sit at a council meeting having spent well, now I understand you're going to once a month meetings, which is excellent, but now you spend all your time getting ready for this meeting. You show up and all of a sudden there's something added to the agenda, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the next part that I'm concerned about. In the previous meeting, Councillor Wilcox stated that he had asked to have material brought to the council meeting this evening. I was asked to consider his request, and Councillor Wilcox's request is directing staff to do something. Now, it says, please ensure all information pertaining to, and I'm not going to go any further. That is a direction. That is not a request for information. It's not to the town manager or to the mayor saying, can I please have some information about this, and this, because I would require it to help make a decision. This is telling your town manager to do something. I keep wanting to call him a CAO. The town manager to do something, and not only that, he also copied all of council. And when you do that, that is also a very threatening thing for staff because it feels like it's a council decision. And I asked if council had directed that this be done. And if council had, then he's micromanaging this is inappropriate and it needs to stop. This, you know, so the next thing I'm going to request that council does is that anytime you want something from, information from the town manager, it needs to come to this table, a resolution has to be passed. One member of council does not get to direct. And in the future, I want to make sure that Councillor Wilcox's emails go to the mayor and not to the CA or to the town manager. And I need a council resolution for that. If it doesn't stop, you're going to end up losing your town manager. You're going to end up with all kinds of harassment complaints. And like I said, we've been watching since before July. So this is not something, it came to a head for me when I got a call after your meeting the other night. And that's why I'm here. I don't want to do any more investigations up here. I think it's a waste of your taxpayers' money. And I think that the gotcha politics just has to stop, and that is what it is. And you can disagree. That's council's choice. I'm bringing this information to you, saying that you need to protect your employee. And you only have one employee, and even the request that was being asked for is not. So you cannot discuss a hiring freeze in closed session. You cannot discuss a realignment and a restructuring of your organization in closed session. The employment contract that Councillor Wilcox asked about is not council's information. Council can see the contract of the town manager and no other employee. It is protected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy legislation, and it is not something that should be asked for or be brought to the table at all. And I know it may have been done in the past. It wasn't allowed back then. It's not allowed now. And I think it's time for council to start doing council business and not be playing this kind of politics. You have to get there, Your Worship, and I apologize for coming here and ranting at you a little bit on my soapbox, but I think you guys have a lot you have to deal with, and having these things happening is just derailing your business, and you're getting to a point where you're going to be spending way more money on investigations, and I don't think that that's where you should be spending your resources. So I am going to ask if council would be willing to pass a resolution suspending this section of the procedure bylaw until it can be amended to remove that part about things being added at the council table unless it's an emergency.
Council feel about that? Okay. Do you have a draft resolution?
Yeah.
Section of the procedural bylaw on this? Councilor Hughes?
Yeah, can we do something maybe like this, do the next meeting or something, because I'd like to figure out what exactly we're talking about.
Oh,
Like I'd like to look at it and read it up and see what I'm signing for. I'm a little confused right now.
yeah. Hang on, we're getting the section of the procedural bylaw and we'll read it to you. We read it out loud to all of council so you know what the integrity commissioner is asking. Okay. Will you come take a look at this and see if this is the section you're talking about, please?
Would be exactly what I would be speaking about. Because you're filing a motion, says that you have to have your motion to the clerk by a certain time.
Yeah.
And filing a notice of motion. I'm going to ask Steve, what provision of procedure bylaw has been used to add these items? Is this it?
Yes.
Okay, so then that's the one I want to suspend. Because notice of motion is something.
Okay, so what's being talked about is 9.2 of the procedural bylaw under filing a notice of motion. It's 9.2.1. Says a member may introduce a notice of motion at a meeting regarding a matter that would not otherwise be considered at such meeting. And that's what we want to suspend. Because prior to that, under section 9.1, filing a motion, 9.1.1, a member of council may file a motion to be placed on the agenda through the clerk's office no later than 1 p.m. on the Thursday of the week prior to the regular council meeting, as deemed appropriate. So there is a place for you to have a motion filed to be placed on the agenda. Whereas the second section allows you to do it without having it on the agenda. And that's what we're talking about suspending. You can't just come to a meeting and file a notice of motion and have it added.
So 9.1, leaving that allows you to put something on by Thursday.
Thursday, no later than 1 p.m. on the agenda.
And then 9.2 is like you can just come to the meeting and then try to put a motion up that day.
Exactly.
That's the one we want to.
Suspend.
Can I specifically know when did this happen and what was it? Do you recall? When did it suppose we've done this already? Do you know?
Oh, it's happened on a number of.
Almost every
I'm trying to think of when.
It happened yesterday. Tuesday.
I have an example of that. Okay.
Freeze.
Was there any other example of this happened since June? Is there any other example? Because I'm trying to think of when it would
Well,
have
it's
been.
happened- it's
I know
happened
not
if-
to do this.
Yeah, it's happened actually quite a few times. For specific examples, I'd have to go back and look at the minutes to give you the exact examples.
So for curiosity's sake, for educational purposes, I would like to know.
Yeah, well, if you contact Steve and give the staff time, they'll give you the specific examples if you'd like.
And just one more quick thing. Now that we're going to once a month, should we maybe look at the Thursday before, or is that fine still? Or because we'll get our
Well-
we're not sure when we're going to get our paperwork for the previous week yet, right?
Worship, that was mentioned and it was discussed, it would be late on the Wednesday, earlier Thursday.
So that can
So
stay
it will
kinda like
definitely
that.
be earlier than previous.
Okay.
Okay? You have a motion? Okay.
And one more question, sorry. What would deem an emergency? I think that's going to be kind of like a tagline on there.
And an emergency, it's got to go through the mayor's the one
You'll
that
kind of
calls.
say if that's emergency or not. kind of thing.
Sorry?
And then you'll decide kind of if that's emergency or not.
Well,
It's
it's
above
in our
or
bylaw what is
If
classed
you
as
can't
an
wait for the month.
emergency. Okay?
Yep, okay.
Okay. Okay, draft motion, be it resolved that council suspend section 9.2.1 of the procedural bylaw.
9.2.
9.2.1 of the procedural bylaw. Need a mover and a seconder? Counselor Anderson? Counselor Starcheck? Okay, and I'm calling a recorded vote. I'm for. Counselor Anderson? For. Counselor Cooper?
Or
Counselor Hughes?
or
Counselor Hunter, absent. Counselor Starcheck?
Or
Counselor Wilcox?
Opposed.
5 for, 1 opposed. Motion carried. Is there anything further you'd like to address council with?
I would like to also remind council that the code of conduct and the procedure bylaw are your documents, and that each one of you are obligated to ensure that they're being followed at the table. And so if you see something that's happening that you're not comfortable with, you need to speak out at the meeting and say, this isn't right. It happens often where I know, especially when some of these things come to the table at the last minute, even counselors don't know. I could see in the body language that counselors don't know what to say or do or how to react. Well, you can say no, and you can say, I'm not comfortable making that decision tonight. I'm willing to consider it at a future date, or as happened this evening, you withdrew it, which means it can come back to the table at a future time without having to be a reconsideration. So the big challenge I think council has is learning to follow the process the way it's meant to be followed. And procedure bylaw is your governing document, which is why we've asked this portion to be suspended till it can be looked at and changed, because it's very inappropriate to bring an item to the table at the last minute. And I just wanted to comment on what Councillor Hughes had asked about what an emergency might be. An emergency might be the night before your council meeting, the fire truck has a big hole in it or something happens to it and it needs to be repaired. And it can't wait till the next council meeting. So you would put it on to the council agenda at the beginning of a meeting. That would be an emergency. Talking about a hiring freeze is not an emergency. Not even close to being an emergency. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones too that have come to the table that were at the last minute and not really urgent for council to debate that evening. And the reason behind it as well is it's really important that you're open and transparent to your community. And the ombudsman has said that if you have something on your agenda, that's what you get to discuss. You don't get to discuss things that are not on your agenda. And that you have to give notice of what you're going to be discussing to the public. So if you come to a meeting and you add something at the last minute, someone who might have been really interested in hearing about that maybe would have come to the council meeting, but because it wasn't on the agenda, they didn't see it, they didn't know, and they didn't show up. And a decision could be made, and then council might have to backtrack on a decision because they didn't get feedback from somebody who was interested in it. So there are a lot of reasons for doing it. My key one is because by continually doing it, you are undermining the effectiveness of your staff. It puts you in a place where you could be, and I'm speaking to all of council because by allowing someone to do it, you're also condoning it to be okay. And I don't believe it's okay, and I'm asking you to stop. And that's the end of my,
Thank you
for now.
Wendy. 5, adjournment. Draft motion, be it resolved that the special meeting at council be adjourned at 7:20 p.m. Need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Cooper, Counselor Anderson, all in favor? Carried.